Hello, welcome. I've upgraded. So, I found out how to how to hear myself talking so I can hear what my mic sounds like. So, now I've adjusted the volume of the video that we're going to be watching today. So now I know what it should be at because I've heard myself. So hopefully it'll be good now. I don't know. Let's get started with the first video. What fears to fathom Home Alone hides off camera from the player. It is by Horoscoped. I haven't watched any of the videos. This is what's next. What fears to fathom Norwood Hitchhike hides off camera for the player. It says I've watched a little bit. That was because I just watched the intro so I could like it. I didn't know it would be right here, so guess I didn't have to like it, but okay. Let's get started.
What does Fears to Fathom Home Alone hide off camera from the player?
Oh,
In the first
no.
episode of Fears to Fathom, our character must survive a home invasion from someone who
Yeah.
wishes to do them harm. This game is dark and obscure with this visual style, and there's a lot the player can't see. Like, did you know the intruder?
Oh yeah, this is something that made Norwood Hitchhike better than Home Alone, was the fact you could actually explore. I just love that. Wait, what the heck is this?
It's called Grandpa. How about if we explore the house across the street from us? We have quite a bit
Oh.
to check out. And, break. So I hope you enjoy this alternative.
Yeah,
dark.
so I feel like I should talk about this now, because just get it out of the way. Hold up, let me get that. Oh, yes. Real quick. You probably know the next Fears to Fathom game is Carson House. I messed up badly. I accidentally spoiled it because I am horrified with that game. I am very worried what is going to happen. Like, I am not ready. And so I was like, oh, is this the scariest game? Because I really want to know. Apparently, Ironbark Lookout is the scariest. Oh, well. And then Woodbury Getaway is second. Apparently, every time I looked it up, everywhere I looked, it said, like, Carson House is number 3. So I don't know. I might not be able to do that. You might have to wait a while for Carson House episode to come out, because that is, I gotta prep myself. It sounds horrifying, and I accidentally spoiled some of it. So, oh well.
Dark Tale. As always, I usually hit you guys with a very brief recap so everyone knows the flow of the game.
All right.
Our character wakes up and needs to do homework, but before doing so, they need to heat up some food. Unknown to the player, there's a man lurking in their driveway. We eventually heat up the food and start watching a really trippy TV show while eating. But that's when we see someone sneaking upstairs.
Well, that's not what I watched. That's a different show than what I watched. Yeah, there was a different one on the TV from me. And why is it so bright for that guy? Did he, like, do that himself? He might have. And the VHS effect is gone. I think that's it. Oh, yeah, the camcorder effect is, like, gone. Found out what that's called, the camcorder effect. Because years ago, when I watched the playthrough, someone said VHS effect. Apparently, that's actually a camcorder effect. Actually.
Show while eating. But that's when we see someone sneaking upstairs.
Oh, yeah. I still remember that. The fear that went through my body when that happened. was insane. I need to replay this game and actually go after that person. Because I remember when I saw that, I was like, oh shoot, there's someone going up the stairs. Oh geez, there's someone upstairs. Oh no, 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 no. Like, I was freaking out over that. That was really good.
Ourselves and shrugging it off as we head upstairs to finish our work.
You walk really slowly upstairs.
We then lay down and then it becomes nighttime. We grab some water, Mom texts us a very disturbing photo, and suddenly we hear someone break a window and enter the home. So we quite literally Kevin McHale.
Wait, really? You hear someone break a window and enter the home? I did not hear that. Oh my god. I'm deaf.
Ourselves and hide under the bed. We must remain there to stay alive, or must have chosen the right time to open the door for our neighbor. We can either get jump scared at the door or at the
Oh my god! That scared me so bad. Holy. My hands are sweaty. I am glad I was a wimp and waited under the bed. Jeez.
Stairs if we choose wrong. Eventually, police arrest the intruder. Recap aside, let's jump into the title screen.
When we bundle our home and auto, we save. We just can't put a price on that.
Boop. I mean, you can, because you make a price that's affordable for you.
So the title screen is basically a daytime variant of the world map. There's a massive hidden light on the map that we can toggle to add the daylight back to the map. This lets us see a lot more than usual. Of course, we can disable the camera filters too. So if we head inside the house that the game takes place in, we'll find that the house inside is completely barren. There is no furniture or appliances. There is nothing. The walls are here and the floor is there. And I'm saying that because if we check out the houses nearby, like next to this, there is no interior at all.
Oh.
Now there's one outlier for this, which I'll get to in a little bit. But if we head back outside and face the house, we can see that we're able to turn the lights on in the TV room. This is normally disabled on the title screen, but we can turn it on with ease. So as we look around town, we can see the various license plates on cars, and all of them typically have this like mirrored image. So it says USA, and that right half is then mirrored as the texture on the left half. But the town is here, it's fully fledged. We'll explore it in person as we start the game though, and we will also explore the house across the street in just a bit. So moving on into the actual game, there are essentially 3 versions of the same map. The title screen, the evening, and then nighttime. These are all separate. So normally, you are stuck inside your house and only have access to the backyard and the porch. There is an invisible wall encasing the surrounding area. But before just straight up modifying our game position to elsewhere, I can show you how to get out of bounds pretty easily. I noticed that doors in this game are very forceful, and they'll move you out of the way no matter what. So the developer did not account for players standing behind doors when they open. For example, doing this upstairs pushes us through the wall and into the closet area. We get stuck back here and can't do anything. However, with the fridge downstairs, we totally can. The fridge can force you into the corner of the room, or if you're positioned just right, it will straight up push you outside the house. It perfectly places you right between the 2 invisible barriers that block you from leaving the house. So now we are free to check out the entire city. No hacks needed at all. We are currently exploring the night map, and the first thing I want to do was check out the house across from us. This is where our neighbor lives who texts her mom, and the light goes on the upstairs window when she spots the intruder. The door out front won't open, but we can force ourselves into the house. Inside, we'll see that the house has nothing inside of it, but unlike the other houses on this map, its interior does have collision and walls. The layout is much different than our house, and a lot of the rooms don't make much sense at all. There's random holes in the walls, and we can even check out the garage. Heading upstairs,
the back rooms?
Attempting to because stairs are broken in this game due to how our player controller handles physics. Anyways,
wait, that one climbing up the stairs was harder than any life goals I've ever had. Okay.
To how our player controller handles physics. Anyways, upstairs we'll find plenty of rooms to check out. All of them are eerily barren. And if we go into the room where our neighbor turned on the light, we'll see that there is actually no light inside. It's merely a one-way visual effect applied to the window. We can go on the roof though, but we have trouble standing on it. The developer also placed invisible walls on the street too for some reason. Perhaps due to this and the neighbor's house interior, the player at one point could go to the other house.
Straight
It's
street.
called Straight Street, which is odd. But if we warp past these walls, we can check out the block. The landscape itself is pretty sparse. There's lots of houses with nothing in them, and we can even reach the edge of the map. On the evening version of the map, there are several cars that drive around. These cars have colliders on their models, so they can...
Wait, did it actually like change times? I don't remember an evening. Was that just when like you eat and
So it's
stuff?
pretty
I think
far
it
when they hit
is.
us. They do just drive straight to the edges of the map though, and pass through everything in their way. They eventually hit these white cubes that causes them to despawn. On this version of the map, we can find two sets of two cars, blocking streets on opposite sides of the map also. But let's start breaking some stuff. This game is obviously kind of a horror game masterpiece with its theme and pacing, which makes messing with stuff exciting. So right after starting the game, if we go into our parents' bedroom, we can see the intruder standing in our driveway before turning around and walking away. This dude is obviously casing the house and us inside of it. I want to see where he went though, so I warped outside.
Wait, I never saw that. Oh, I missed out.
Followed him.
I need to
He can't
replay
jump
this.
scare us yet, but he does walk super far away as he sinks into the ground slowly. He then just unloads.
Dang.
But this isn't the only version of the intruder on this map, because looking into the files, we realize this intruder's name is actually Grandpa, or at least that's what the character is called on the map. However, this Grandpa wears a gray shirt, but there's another hidden version on the porch. If we re-enable this Grandpa, we'll see he's directly behind the door. He's a different person model too, and is much older than the actual real version. And although this Grandpa has the same creepy animations the other one uses in the normal game, he can't hurt us or trigger a jump scare. But also there's disabled sprinklers watering our yard. We can turn them back on even though they don't appear in the game to my knowledge. I could be wrong though. So when we sit down to eat our lasagna, after a few bites we can see someone walking up the stairs. Grandpa magically appears there, but we can see that he does walk up the stairs slowly before stepping through the ceiling and vanishing. This is truly terrifying, but only foreshadowing the absurd things I'll be talking about in just a moment. When Grandpa shows up at the door during the night and we are told not to open it, we can pop out our window and then fall off the roof behind the old goat and he won't notice us. He also won't jump scare us, because his jump scare trigger is actually opening the door while standing inside. We can walk through his body, but if we open the door while we're out here, Grandpa will vanish. We don't get jump scared. Well, at least not yet. The second we touch the rug in the hallway by the door, Grandpa will respawn behind the door and then reach out and grab us. So a neighbor can show up at the door too later on, and sometimes she just clips through the porch. But if we manage to open the door while she's there, we can see what she actually looks like. We can check out the police car up close too as it pulls up. Nothing really to see, but we can see that our neighbor is now standing on the porch properly. Let's rewind time for a bit though. After Grandpa breaks a window and gets inside later on in the story, he'll be standing inside of our parents' bedroom. His trigger to chase us is at the top of the stairs, but we can splinter cell our way on the roof like the mad hacker we are. It's weird though because I slipped off the roof and realized Grandpa was both upstairs and at the front door.
He's a hacker.
Trying it again, I got in the bed behind Grandpa, but his hearing was bad, so he didn't know I was there. Running into him triggered the most terrifying jump scare of all time though, a distorted close-up of his Argyle sweater. So the strange thing about when Grandpa chases you is that in normal gameplay it gets a bit glitchy. For one, the Elden Bro just straight up runs through the wall, which makes you wonder why he smashed a window if he has these godly powers. But two, can we talk about this jump scare? With the light turned on and the game brightened up, this guy is very clearly flopping around the screen. Let's turn on God mode and head back in. So when Grandpa phases through the wall, he's very aggressive. So much so that he pushes us up the walls and then walks up the walls to follow us. It's pretty crazy looking. I actually led the man outside and had him follow me to the police car so he could get arrested. And he vanished as soon as I did it. If we turn back time to that jump scare though, I think I know what's going on. So watch this madman freak out as he assaults us. So it looks like Grandpa's anchor point for his body rotation is set to his feet, and their pathfinding is able to rotate towards the player always, but they include up and down tilting too, when normally it's locked to just left and right turning. So when the jump scare triggers, it doesn't stop Grandpa from moving, and the player's collider doesn't either. So what happens is the grandpa ends up zeroing in on the player's exact position. And then the model freaks out as it tries to rotate and face the player, which is impossible because the coordinates are the same. And so Grandpa has a seizure, and we're smashing his life alert button to get him some help. We could even turn Grandpa into a helicopter as he swass his way out of the house and onto the roof. It's creepy and glorious. And nearby on the porch, we can find our neighbor clipping through the ground and staring at duplicate Grandpa's butt. Also glorious. I don't know what's more terrifying, the perfect execution of horror in this game, or the unintended glitches that ooze out of this unsettling plot.
Alright.
So we're just gonna delete the house from existence and leave ourselves with a bunch of floating furniture. Without the house, there are no triggers to advance the story for Grandpa to get us. Also, there's missing floor, so I fell to my death off the map. But with that, we've come to the end of our journey. I hope
Alright. That was... What did I just opened DaVinci Resolve. Jeez. I hate opening this on accident because you have to wait for it to load before you can close it. Now I can close it. Alright. 16 minutes only? Alright, next one's 17. This is going to be a short live stream.
Did you know that your data is being used by social media companies for whatever they want? Tracking you, targeting you, and so much more.
What does Fears of Fathom Norwood
Yeah.
Hitchhike hide
What
off
the-
camera from the player? In this second episode of Fears of Fathom, our character must survive this long trip home in the night. This game is dark and obscure with its visual style, and there's a lot the player can't see, like this mysterious man that can be seen playing musical chairs all by himself, minus the chairs. Or how about Walter White driving off at the speed of light just after dropping us off at the motel? We have quite a bit to check out, and of course break, so I hope you enjoy this alternative look at this dark tale. As always, I usually hit you guys with a very brief recap, so everyone knows the sequence of events that take place throughout the game.
Yep.
Starting off, our character Holly is on the road, making her way home from a gaming convention. Through text, she lets her friends and family know she's on her way home, following
Yep.
with the gaslight coming on. That's probably not good. We'll then see a suspicious person crossing the street, entering the woods right before we reach the gas
I
station.
didn't see that.
To pay for gas, the employee
Once again, I am blind.
asks if we're heading down the Norwood Valley Road, advising that people have been going missing down there. During this, we can see an individual who approaches our vehicle and begins to mess with it. Trying to interact with a man leads us to being ignored as he proceeds to walk back to this white van and then drive off.
What?
Yeah, we meet a customer as well who doesn't have much to say.
How did I not see that? What? Oh my god. Oh wait, I know why. Let me head to my channel. What the? Look at this. I think I know why. I think that I know why. Let's open this up. Ready? Ready? Think I know why? I know why. I know why. If I just go back a bit to the thing, so I just come on, just look. I wonder why I didn't see it. I wonder why I didn't see that. I wonder why I didn't see that. Sorry. I'm just doing something real quick. I wonder why I didn't see that. Sorry, I'm very mad. I wonder why I didn't see that. I want you all to wonder why I didn't see that. Ooh. I'm just saying this because I'm looking at stuff I can do with Mike. Hello. Ooh, I'm changing stuff. Ooh, I don't remember what that was at. Ooh. Oh. Okay. Oh. Did I just cut out there? Oh, there we go. What is this? Alright. Oh, everything. All the way up. Alright. Oh, this is great. Alright. Hold. I just really wanna see this. Oh. Alright. Okay. You can hear the mouse clicking in my what just happened? Alright. I'm done messing with my mic because I don't trust myself. Alright, back to the video.
But we grab some dog food as requested by our mother, throw it in the trunk, and then continue on our trip home. We then find ourselves behind this car that ends up suspiciously speeding off after a while. And after a lot of driving, the player is then tasked with moving these logs that are obstructing the road, as our car breaks down in the process. The customer we saw in the gas station saves the day and gives us a lift to this lovely motel. But there's a lot that goes on at the motel. So for now, let's focus on the trip to the motel first. Recap aside, let's get this ride home started. So as we begin driving, one of the first encounters we have is this van, which will drive by us, traveling the opposite direction. For those of you familiar will know that this van is bad news, and it won't be the last time we see it. Attempting a game of chicken with the van results with quite the obvious conclusion: death.
What?
Now, when the vehicle's gas light comes on, you can see a dirt path that is gated off.
Yeah, I was both times I drove. Both times I drove past that. I was like, oh, I wonder what that is. Wait a minute. Did it just? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. No, just delete that. Yeah, just delete that too. Oh, delete that. So both times I drove past that, and I just didn't like. I can get HD. So both times I drove past that, I was like, oh, what's down there? I kind of want to see what's down there, and I just didn't investigate further. Should have.
Here, I decided to take a closer look as I delete this gate from existence.
Oh.
Following this dirt path leads to a slightly more open area where we can find one-dimensional trees. These are, of course, background assets. There's really nothing else following this as I sped up the game and continue looking around. You can see some mountains in the distance, but I quickly realized that we don't want to get lost. So I just headed back to the car.
Yeah.
Forgetting that I left the game running at a higher speed, you could see I was struggling to drive. I backed into the trees as I was trying to get back on the road.
This is what happened to me.
And ended up flipping the car. To my surprise, I was still able to drive the car despite it being flipped upside down. I couldn't help but laugh as I glided down the road on the roof of my car. Whatever works, I guess. Getting back on track, though, the player ends up seeing a suspicious individual crossing the street and going into the woods. Normally, getting out of the car here and trying to follow reveals an invisible wall that prevents us from going any further. However, if we watch the sequence from a different perspective, we can get a better look at this bad guy, as he is called in the files. I would speculate that this bad guy is possibly casing the gas station that we're about to head to. I mean, he could just be a nature-loving kind of guy, which is unlikely, but I digress.
Email, social, events, SMS, SEO, AI, ROI. Feeling like you need a PhD and a lot of free time?
His trip into the woods doesn't last long, as he despawns shortly after entering them. It's at this point that the player will reach the gas station. A gas station that, I'll admit, is a bit suspect in itself. There are two individuals in here, including the employee, known as cashier, with the other being referred to as gas station trucker. We're gonna call him Walter White though, because, yeah, he sort of looks like him. However, nothing to my knowledge really happens though, because, yeah, he sort of...
Let me see. Okay. Okay. Fair.
looks like him. However, nothing to my knowledge really happens off camera at this part, so I decided to mess around in here before progressing. If the player decides to start grabbing a bunch of stuff off the shelves and dropping them all over, the cashier will get mad and ask what you're doing. If you keep doing it, he'll eventually threaten to call the police, but he'll never actually do it, thankfully. I felt threatened though, and wanted to make sure he wouldn't be able to use the store phone, so I shrank him. Big words for a small man, eh? Meanwhile, Walter White is just casually walking around like everything's fine, knowing fully well that we've seen he's been drinking this big boy milk. Our cashier friend is clearly in over his head at this point, but talking to Walter is pretty funny, as we break our neck while looking up at him. Unfortunately, while playing around with this milk carton, the game froze, and I had to start over. In another instance, I deleted the gas station by accident, and as you can see, there was a lot going on. Getting back on track though, once the cashier is done with his storytelling, we can see a van parked outside the gas station. We can see it's the same van we passed from before, as it clips through a couple of objects out front. An individual will then appear near the van and start approaching our vehicle. This happens to be the same bad guy we saw walking across the street and into the woods from before. But as you can see, he'll approach our vehicle and begin to mess with it. Crouched down, he looks like he's tickling the inner portion of the tire. However, those of you that are familiar with the game know that this is just one step of many in this bad guy's evil plan. Once the player goes outside, the bad guy will retreat to the van and enter the van as it drives off. Following
I actually want to show you something. After this video. It's pretty cool.
the van shows that it does drive for a bit before disappearing though. With that being all that really happens in this area, I slowly but surely make my way back on the road. Except, right after getting this shot, I lost sight of my car and then found it, well, in a tough spot. Our character at least keeps it real, as she says, I wasn't the best at driving. Of course, I'm flipped upside down again, but I continue on driving and manage to reach this red car we normally end up behind. Taking a closer look at this car allows us to clearly see a hand sticking out of the trunk. And going to the trunk shows that it's in fact only a hand that's back here. Following the car with our camera...
I need to replay this game.
As it speeds off, shows that it does eventually disappear though. If we head up for an aerial view, we can see the tree line that follows with empty terrain. There's a lot of land out here, and going further out reveals some mountains, but that's about it. As for the following sequence of events, nothing really takes place behind the scenes. Once we've crossed the bridge, oh, let's fix this. It's messing with my head. Much better. So after the bridge, we end up following this dirt road for a bit. There is a notable deserted car and a rabbit we come across, but it's actually this random area that I was more curious about. It's right before the logs that are obstructing the road. If the player gets out here, they'll see a gate, and once they approach it, they'll see a big old bear. The furry guy just awkwardly walks by. I decide to delete the gate and attempt to pet our new friend, but of course, I simply walked through him. This makes sense, seeing as the player is not supposed to be out here, but we can watch him mosey along, eventually disappearing. Now we're at the part where we normally would get out of the car and pull these logs aside to clear the way. Then, our car breaks down. So, what if we just don't get out of the car and the logs happen to just call in sick for the day? Well, as you can see, we can in fact continue driving along this road. This makes sense that we're able to drive out here, seeing as we'd eventually be continuing on this road with Walter White anyway, as in the guy at the gas station. I continued driving on this road, but eventually began to notice fewer trees. Then I reached a point where there was only a dirt road to follow. The road ends, and I began to realize that we may be approaching the edge of the map. Knowing this, I lay on the gas and plummet off the map as we enter this endless, disorienting freeway. I end up getting out of the car during this fall, only to lose sight of it immediately. Guess I should have moved the logs. So we go back and we move the logs, our car breaks down, and now we wait. A random car will drive by and ignore us. Standing in front of it results with it just clipping through our character. However, the next lights we see are our ticket out of here.
I
Walter
would have
Russell reaches
thought
the scene.
he would have examined if anyone went to the car. I thought that was what he was gonna do. I need to try that.
And will in fact hit
Guess.
the player if we're in the way. It's pretty fun to watch as we grind against the front of his truck. We greet each other.
Give me a ride.
And eventually he offers us a ride. So we grab our stuff and I made a tiny change to his truck.
Are you telling me you can carry two at a time? Or is he glitching the game
But
again?
couldn't even get my belongings in the bed of it. So I revert him and his truck back to normal size and continue on. I forgot to mention this earlier, but when we try to dislodge the camera in this mode, we'll see that the truck follows it. This is because the truck is essentially parented to the camera, and they do this so the visual effects applied to the screen normally can be doubled up outside the windows, which makes it a lot harder to see. Thus, the inside isn't as distorted, and we can fly off the car. As you can see though, it's really trippy looking. As we fly above the truck, we're technically in. After some small talk though, the game fades to black, loading us into the next area, the Marvelous Motel. At this point, we're dropped off at the motel by Walter White. We then get a key for our room at the front desk, and are told that Tommy will be taking care of our
I thought his name was
Once getting
like
to our room, we'll be jump scared
Jimmy.
by the guy that's going to be handling our car, as he's suspiciously standing in the bathroom. After this awkward interaction, he'll leave as he makes his way to
I still remember getting trapped in the bathroom with him. Love that.
get our character's car. Once we're settled in with our stuff, we then lay down in the bed. It's not long after that we'll see a person staring at us from the front window. Going outside, we'll see the individual across the parking lot, where they retreat to another room. This is when our character wants some coffee, thinking it would help the situation. It just so happens that there's a coffee machine right next to room 4, where our friend that was looking through the window went.
I don't remember if I saw that guy.
After consuming the coffee, we go into a spiraling dizzy state as our character trips out. Successfully getting back to our room and laying back down, our character will drift to sleep, only to wake up to someone walking away from the bedside and into the closet. Not doing anything will result in a knock on the door, with it being the motel employee from the front desk. He says we have noise complaints from neighboring rooms. So after mentioning the incident with the coffee machine, he becomes annoyed, as he claims there is no coffee machine. Of course, when we go to show him the machine, it's mysteriously gone. Strangely enough, he tells us to just go back to our room and take the medication that's in there. Once the player does this, a few moments later, a flash comes through the window, followed by a suspicious person coming to our door. Let's stop there, though, and go back to when we first got to this motel.
What?
And see what transpires behind the scenes
I don't remember
throughout the
that.
sequence of events we just went over.
See, my game was really glitchy. Like, I had a really glitchy game. Like, the knock sound wasn't working. I got stuck in the bathroom. The car flipped over. I glitched out of the map. Ton of stuff happened. Don't remember the van. Ton of glitches. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised if I just didn't get the flash. I do not know. I might have to check the video again.
Load in, we can see Walter drive away into the cold, dark night. I wanted to watch where he goes and must have messed with the speed of him while pausing the game, because when I unpaused it, he just takes off like a rocket into this endless void. Slowing it down to a near crawl shows that he still moves fairly fast, but as you can see, he'll just keep driving in one direction. He'll travel through some trees and then off the road, where he eventually reaches the edge and flies away. He just keeps going as the map gets smaller and smaller. If we take a closer look at him, we can see his head hanging down, like he's knocked out or perhaps asleep. But I believe it's because his model is still fixed on looking at our character. We never see him again though. Bon voyage, good friend. Coming back to the motel, if we go under the map and look above, we'll see that most of the rooms are empty. We can break the doors down and get a closer look at these very vacant rooms though, which are glorious. The front desk motel employee doesn't hide much, but I wanted to get behind the counter with him. So I removed the side door, not realizing it would destroy the entirety of it. He didn't seem impressed with what I've done, so I reminded him of who's the boss and shrank him into a baby man. Heading to room 9, we can peek into the bathroom where Tommy is waiting. Getting a closer look, I would have figured he was going to be the one trying to take my life. I mean, look at that face!
Yeah.
When Tommy sets off to go get our car, it's fantastic to watch him walk. The movement overall was giving me Nintendo 64 GoldenEye vibes, that's for sure. He'll disappear as his tow truck rolls out in Autobot fashion though. Unlike the truck that dropped us off from before, this one will follow the road, eventually disappearing at the bend of the road. Something else to note, if you stand in front of the tow truck as it leaves, it will continuously push us, allowing the player to break through the bounds of the level with no mods. However, it's now time to sleep and wake up to this creeper in the window. Lo and behold, it ends up being the bad guy that we've been seeing throughout the entirety of this game. We normally see him cross the parking lot and go into a room, but what we don't see is that when he goes into this room, we can find him just walking in circles. He'll continuously just do this. Even breaking the door down and going inside doesn't faze him, as he continues this rigorous cardio workout. Before drinking the coffee though, the player should recognize this red car here, as it's the one we saw earlier with the hand poking out the trunk. If you listen carefully, you can hear someone breathing inside the car. Take a listen.
What the?
Looking in the car, of course, reveals nothing, but I believe I know who we're hearing, and I'll explain my theory in a few moments. First, we'll drink the coffee, which leads us to a disorienting walk back to the room. Going to sleep once again follows with us waking up to this strange man who walks into our closet. However,
Bad
as
guy.
you can see, I froze the game, so we can get a better look at him. I believe this is who we
Wait.
heard breathing in the red car, and that he is working with the bad guy. Going outside, we can see the trunk of the car is open too, suggesting he could have been hiding in there the whole time. Definitely food for thought, but I'm getting ahead of myself. This guy's called Creeper Sneaky in the files, which is hilarious. Looking in this closet that he hides in shows that he just disappears.
What the cheese?
Investigating the closet normally follows with a character being abducted, so we're not going to do that. We can find the motel employee just standing outside the front office.
I don't know why I just said what the cheese. I don't know. I can't swear, so I just think of the weirdest things to say. Like, I don't know.
Awkwardly, but answering the broken phone that rings and goes dead will eventually prompt the motel employee to start walking to our room. Something the player might have missed though is when we go to show the employee the coffee machine that he's unaware of. If the player looks back at their room, we can see Creeper Sneaky come out of our room and just walk away like a smooth criminal. He'll just appear in the room once we reach a certain distance. Following him, I deleted this fence where I saw him heading and ended up finding him out here walking around in
Oh my
circles,
gosh.
just like the bad guy. Who taught these guys how to act casual? The hotel employee even followed me and couldn't care less about this creepo walking around out here. Something players also may not have noticed is when we discover the coffee machine is gone, we can come over here and find the white van that we saw the bad guy get in from before. This could explain why the coffee machine is gone, as they stashed it in the van. The van is also not here prior to drinking the coffee. I'm speculating and could be wrong, but let me know what you think in the comments. We go back to our room though, take some medicine, and then the final act takes place. We'll see a flash come from the window, and then Mr. Creepy Sneaky spawns in as he creepily approaches our door. He wants us to let him in, and oddly assures he's not the police. If you continually refuse him entry, he'll begin to bang on the door. We can see he's not really banging the door, as he just stands there, but when the door breaks down, he'll pursue the player and proceed to abduct them. His walk is fabulously dangerous, and there's no escaping the room. In another instance, I deleted my way out of the motel room and managed to get right next to him. Unfazed by me, I continued the same dialogue with him as he began to break the door down. As soon as he breaks the door down, he does a 180 and pursues directly towards me. I wish I was recording audio of myself, as I couldn't stop laughing during this hilarious rundown. We're normally supposed to hide in the closet when he breaks down the door, which follows with him searching the room, eventually going into the bathroom. That's when the employee comes into the room and surprises Creeper Sneaky with a creepy sneaky punch of his own, as the screen fades to black. Our character will talk about how the entire night was weird and that she'll never go on a long road trip again. And then the credits roll. I wanted to explain that sequence first because now if we go back and instead just open the door for Creeper Sneaky as he requests, we can literally see him hiding on the side of the motel, waiting for us to come out. Not as sneaky as one would think. However, I decided to break my way through the motel rooms and exit out of one of them instead. I thought he might pursue me like from before, but he'll just continue to stand there and wait for us, despite the fact that he's staring directly at us. I went to go get the employee, but realized he wasn't loaded in. So I tried loading him in myself, but didn't realize I accidentally loaded in the version of him that comes in the Punch the Dude. I didn't know what to do at this point, so I just let it play out. And as you can see, it's a strange situation altogether, as he punches nothing. The dialogue from a character starts popping up on screen, but never fades to black. After clicking through it all, it took me directly to the credits. I guess that's one way to beat it. Yeah. The credits area is just this long stretch of road as the tow truck drives on. I found some signs and fences throughout this area with no other significant findings. But with that, we come to the end of Fears to Fathom 2. I hope you guys enjoyed my broken adventure. Subscribe.
Okay, so the video I was gonna show you after this. I'm not gonna show you. I can just tell you. It's like a unofficial, at least I think unofficial, trailer for a Fierce Fathom game. So, yeah. Everything hidden. Okay, that's pretty cool. I do. See, I was originally gonna be like, I should find the secret stuff in number 3 so I can find them. But then realized it would spoil the game. So now there's a choice. I do already know, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that goes down because of my research with if it was scary. So but I could be like missing something. Like there could be something really important that I didn't spoil. Okay, this is oh my gosh. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna use Wheel of Names. Wheel of Names. Yes. Oh. All right. Let's go. All right. So we're gonna watch the video, and by the time I actually muster up the courage to, I need to save this. I'll do that later. Because I want to use this for other things. Ooh. So by the time I actually get the courage to play this game, I'll probably forget. So let's go. I'm gonna get horrified. Jeez, I don't know any of the jump scares.
Docs to write themselves. Here's the secret to getting words down.
Okay, I'm gonna sit back.
What does Fears to Fathom Carson House hide off camera from the player?
What the heck?
In this third episode of Fears to Fathom, our character must survive a night of house sitting that takes a turn for the worst. But behind this terrifying situation are a lot of things that are hidden out of sight. Like, did you know there's a floating house way up in the sky? And that we can explore it? We have a lot to cover and break.
Hold on. I'm gonna turn the volume on my mic up. So that, because I'm gonna be sitting back. I'm scared. So, alright. This is loud, but I'm gonna be sitting back, so it's fine. Is this good? Alright, it's good.
So I hope you enjoy this deep dive into Fears of Fathom Carson House.
Alright.
As always, before breaking each section of the game, I like to hit you guys with a very brief recap.
Yes, you do.
The sequence of events that take place. With that said, at the beginning of the game, we're informed that our character, Noah, is telling the story 10 years after it happened. In a nutshell, he explains how his father, who is a realtor, has a client that needs his house to be washed over while he's out of town. Being easy money, Noah accepts this job, following with the first sequence. We start off in a laundromat, which threw me off at first. However, once the player finds a way down these stairs, it's fair to speculate that this instance may not be exactly real, as we enter this giant room. There is what seems to be an endless row of washers in here, but progressing through here leads us to this man, who appears to be doing some laundry. This man is in dire need of...
That is a weird washer. There's a different washer. Look.
Doing some laundry. This man
Yeah.
is in dire need of bleach apparently, as he continuously asks where it's at. Eventually, we'll come to the realization that we're dreaming, as the man tells us that nap time is over and that we've arrived. This follows with our character waking up as we arrive at the client's house. Before moving forward though, let's take a closer look at this dream state that Noah, our character, goes through. Normally we're confined to this laundromat, and the only way to progress is down these stairs into this big, trippy room, which we'll get to in a moment. Outside the laundromat, we can see that there's various stores along this strip of road. Breaking out this building shows that we can walk around this area. We can also see that the rain animation is only occurring right in front of the building we're in. But outside of that, nothing interesting is taking place.
That's kind of funny.
Moving back inside, we can actually see how big this trippy washroom is. Deleting one of the machines allows us to come out into this big open area. There's a cart out here, but beside that, it's simply just a giant space that we're able to traverse. Making our way to Dream Guy, as he's referred to in the files, we can see that he'll repeatedly wave with his deformed hand. As you can see though, I have a somewhat different interaction with him this time. However, this big boy still needs to know where the bleach is.
This is just too loud. So I'm gonna turn it down. Alright. This should be good. Is this good? Alright.
And I sadly still don't have the answer. I will say, funnily enough, it was a bit more intimidating this time around while interacting with this extra large dude. This brings us back to where we were though, as we wake up in the back seat of Dad's car. So Noah's dad will tell Noah where the spare house key is and remind him to keep the doors locked. Upon leaving the car, we're supposed to make our way to the backyard so we can retrieve the house key from under a fake rock. But not before giving some much needed pets to this doggo. Anyway, we get the key and make our way into the house. We'll get a grace period where we're able to explore the house, which is fairly big, as you can see. Eventually, we'll get a text from Roy Carson thanking us for taking the house-sitting job. We're also in another chat with Evelyn Cooper, who appears to be a possible love interest at this point. Mr. Carson will task us with feeding his dog Zeke, with the dog food being in the basement. Great! The basement. However, there's a flashlight where we get to the storage room, which ends up helping us search for the dog food down the cellar. Once finding and grabbing a can of dog food, we make our way to the kitchen, open the can, head outside, and fill Zeke's bowl. The dog will slowly but surely come to eat. At this point, Mr. Carson will message Noah, asking for another favor, which involves fixing his computer. So I go back inside, grab the can opener for protection, and head on up to the computer room. This room is where we'll find our character throughout this episode for various sequences. This time around, it's to fix the computer. However, if you open the recycling bin first, there's a video in there called Guide to Being a Better Person. With that aside, you're supposed to go on the internet and download an antivirus program which ultimately fixes the computer. This in turn gives us access to the security cameras, which are a crucial tool for the game. At this point, Evelyn wants us...
This is why I don't want to play this game. Oh, come on. I need to stretch.
to watch a show, so we'll make our way downstairs and begin to watch Cooking with Jeffrey. The show is entertaining, creepy, and funny overall. You're probably wondering though, what has taken place behind the scenes since we've exited our dad's car? Well, initially it didn't seem like much, but if we follow Noah's dad after he drops us off, we can see he'll make a right turn and then be destroyed. The block that the car runs into is labeled Destroyer, therefore destroying the car when it makes contact. This occurs with all the cars that end up driving out during gameplay, but I digress. I was really hoping to find the antagonists of this episode hiding out of sight somewhere. Zeke's outside, being Zeke, but that's about it. However, I did stumble across something in the files that's very neat. Way up in the sky, we can find another house that is currently hidden from the player. This house has both a daytime and nighttime variant, although toggling these on creates a ton of lights and tends to bog the game down. By far, what I was most interested in was seeing if this house could be explored, so I quickly teleported my character up here, and I was excited to see that the house had its collider intact. This allows me to explore it completely, but I did have to delete the doors so I could make my way through, as they did not function. The house is pretty expansive with an upstairs, ground level floor, and a basement. More than likely, this was another prefabricated house included in the asset pack that was used to make the game, as it seems to be of a similar build to the Carson house and the episode 1 house in Home Alone. A few of you have commented before that these house setups and neighborhood have been seen in other games as well. But speaking of Home Alone, I decided to have some fun with this floating house. So I went and grabbed the bicycle from Mr. Carson's and brought it up to the floating house. Like Kevin McAllister riding a sled down the stairs, in Home Alone fashion, I rode the bike down the stairs and off the porch. Let's just say Noah's neck should be broken at this point. But, like a champ, he simply says,
Hold on a sec. So, I'm just turning the volume down by a bit, just a little bit. All right. Is this good? This good. All right. This is good. Spoilers.
I fell off my bike. Glorious. Not wanting the fun to end, I turned my bike into a big wheel basically, and proceeded to ride it down the street, yelling Paperboy as I proceeded. Anyways, let's progress the plot, shall we? It's at this point that Mr. Carson will ask us to do some grocery shopping for him as he sends over a grocery list. However, if you stick around and continue to watch the TV, this really strange but funny commercial about buying hands comes on. Apparently, hands are a hot commodity in this world. Moving on though, we head outside, grab the bicycle on the side of the garage, and ride to the store, which leads us into the next sequence. This will lead us into a different area entirely, as we're tasked with going to Nuck's convenience store. It's a somewhat similar situation, like the gas station we go into in the Norwood Hitchhike episode, except this time we have more things to gather overall. We also can help this random old lady that thinks we work here. She'll end up telling us she needs to find the mustard, which we can find and give to her. This is where we run into our friends Turner and Andy as well. They tell us that our girl, Kara, was just here. Through this conversation, we learn that Noah isn't dating her anymore, and that he's talking to someone else, which will be Evelyn, the person we've been texting throughout the game. Outside of that, though, we simply gather the items from Mr. Carson's list, check out with the store clerk, and head back to Mr. Carson's house. If we go back to when we first loaded into this sequence and pause it, we can actually get a closer look at Noah's ex, Kara. She can be seen creepily standing in front of the store. Kara definitely does not look like a trustworthy individual, if you were to ask me. Once we get closer to the store, though, she'll proceed to walk to the side of the building, get in her car, and drive
What is
right
that? Is that
closer
like
to the-
that Coca-Cola?
She'll proceed to walk to the side of the building,
Oh,
get in her car,
best drink ever.
and drive right by us. I had some fun in the store as I messed around with the other characters in here, as nothing really occurs off camera. The entirety of this section does have quite a few buildings out of bounds, but nothing out here can be explored. I broke through the barrier that normally confines the player and learned that I wasn't able to get too far before falling through the map. With that though, let's get back to Mr. Carson's house. Once getting back, eventually our friend from the store will text us, telling us to go look up Mr. Carson's divorce on the internet. Doing this will follow with the doorbell ringing. Apparently, it's a pizza guy. Of course, we didn't order a pizza, so naturally this causes us to be hesitant with opening the door. However, opening the door ends up not being as bad as I thought it'd be. We get our pizza, but the guy wants to come in and wait out the rain. Our responses are all variations of denying him access, which results with him understanding and then leaving. Going under the house, we can find the pizza box that he gives us, and I believe this is stored here until we accept the pizza, which ends up in our hands during a scene transition. Before answering the door though, if we try to go out and around to the front of the house, we're blocked by a barrier. As Noah says, couldn't go out in the downpour. Breaking through the barrier, we're able to get a better look at this pizza guy, who I honestly thought was going to be the antagonist during my first playthrough. Instead, he peacefully
That means he's
leaves
not.
with a flame decal.
Oh no.
We can now sit down and eat some pizza as we watch another strange TV show yet
What
again.
the heck?
The bell will ring again eventually, but we can find some flowers that were left behind. Checking this out as it occurs shows that they simply just appear. After collecting the flowers, we eventually get text messages from an unknown sender. Noah figures it was a wrong number as we continue on and do some homework. I thought it was pretty funny that we get a loading bar as we do our homework, but once this completes, the screen fades to black, loading us into the next scene. So now we can see that the power has gone out, and we can hear the dog barking outside. Normally, if we were to follow the sound of Zeke barking, it'll lead us to the side of the house where we can turn the power back on. However, if we decide to not go to the power box first and take a look at the side of the house, we can see our ex Kara creepily standing there. As long as we don't go too far over, she can't see us and will not attack. Fun fact though, if you get on the bicycle and go into her view, she simply ignores you. Being on the bike basically makes us invisible to her, and the result is pretty funny to see. She'll just stand still as if she can't see us. This is because our player character unloads when we activate the bike, and a separate controller loads in. She is designed to only chase our primary controller, tagged as the player. I decided to have some fun though, and removed the garage door. I then got her to chase me and ran to the garage for safety. As you can see, we're stuck in here, and she is unable to come in.
Oh, jeez. This. I'm not ready for this game. This is too scary for me. I'm actually getting scared, and I'm not even playing the game. Jeez. How is this the third scariest?
Chase towards us will just continue to take place until I exit the garage, making for a funny interaction. Going to the power box first during this scene will result with Kara disappearing though. So, moving on, I head to the power box and turn it back on. Apparently, I may have given Zeke too much food earlier, as this big bone doggo trots away. Heading back inside, we'll see that this particular door is suspiciously cracked open. If you open the door and don't go in the room, you can actually see Kara behind the door.
No. That's a wrap. Stream's over. Okay, bye. Nuh-uh. Should I continue? It's rigged. Should I continue? It's rigged. It's doing yes every time. Should I continue? Best of three. It's not rigged. Alright. Best of three. It's rigged. I'm not going full screen. Ooh. Alright.
Patiently waiting for us to come inside. Why would Noah break it off with this clearly romantic girl? Sheesh, all she wants to do is take our life. No big deal. So, let's not go in there and continue on. It's at this point that we need to head back up and resume our homework. That's when we hear something downstairs, which we'll need to check out.
If you're buying a Windows 11 PC, start by thinking about how you'll use it. Most people fall into one of four categories.
Going down to investigate without checking the cameras first is not the way to go here. We can see that the oven is turned on, and once we turn it off, well, she's waiting in the corner of the kitchen and will proceed to destroy us with her love. But if we check the cameras first, we get a quick glimpse of her walking on the back porch. Watching all this transpire from a different view as we do our homework shows that she'll disappear from this room as the door on the other side opens. We'll then see her spawn in the kitchen as we continue with our homework, but checking the camera results with her walking across the porch, eventually disappearing. Before completing this part though, I decided to mess with Kara and turned her into a slender woman. As you can see, she's now clipping through the ceiling, but if we go upstairs, we can see that she's doing just fine, as her head creepily pokes on the floor like something out of Skibbity Toilet. She ends up chasing me, and it's pretty funny to see. I eventually made it outside during this horrific chase, as she towers over me and jump scares us with her legs. Glorious. At this point, normally we go back upstairs as we text our friend. Noah thinks his friends have been messing with him this whole time, which they deny. Checking the cameras again, we'll see Kara walking up the stairs. She goes into one room, but eventually comes out and will proceed down the hallway, ending up at this unusable door. She then begins talking to Noah, expressing how she misses him. The conversation will continue, and we can see that she's not quite right in the head, as she threatens to kill Noah and Evelyn. If we stay in the room...
So, looks like there's a little swear word there.
not quite right in the head.
Gotta ignore that.
She threatens to kill Noah and Evelyn. If we stay in the room, she'll end up coming in and destroying us. What we should have done is leave this room and go into the laundry room across the way, as this conversation takes place. Now we'll be safe once she goes into the computer room, and once she's out of sight, we can make a run for it. When we get down the stairs, the screen will fade to black. It's explained to us that they got the police involved, and eventually she was apprehended. The credits will then roll, as we've successfully completed the episode. Going back and seeing all this transpire from our notes,
And I successfully finished the video. Almost.
reveals that she'll load in downstairs right as we check the text messages. However, this time around I came prepared. Before checking my texts, I decided to go get the bicycle and ride it all the way up and into the computer room. I will say it was sort of difficult to ride this bike in the house, but not impossible. If you remember, the bike essentially hides us from her view if we're riding it. And as you can see, she walks right into the room with no idea where we are. She'll eventually walk up to the computer desk and will remain here indefinitely. I found this to be a hilarious way to beat the game, as I had a pretty difficult time getting the bike back downstairs. I don't know how I exactly did it, but I ended up getting stuck in the house and eventually found myself scaling the ceiling. Once I got myself
Spider-Man!
I realized that
Alright. So. That was...
the bike allowed me to skip the trigger that would normally cause the game to end. This resulted with the game never ending. I was able to go back upstairs and find that Kara was no longer hostile towards me, as she just stands there thinking about her life choices. There's not much to see in the credits area, as the only difference here is this patrol car in front of the house. But with that, that's everything I was able to find and break.
Alright. I totally don't regret that. Okay. I have to play that, don't I? Yeah, I do. Okay, it would be the right thing to do. But I don't always have to do the right thing. Do I always have to do the right thing? Do I? I don't think I do. So I'm not gonna. Goodbye. So, that'll be it. I'm not playing Car House ever. No, that is awful. That is horrifying. I'm not gonna be able to do that. I'm not good with horror. Okay, as you can probably tell. That was a weird noise. Goodbye. I'm leaving.